Life is Strange is a game that I currently have very mixed feelings towards. It's a game that when I had played during the summer following my junior year in high school, I had praised it as being one of my favorite games. However, as time went on, I started to realize that there were a lot of varying aspects of the game that I really disliked. And as a result of this, the game that I once praised as being one of my favorite games began to feel more like a cheesy interactive teen drama. My biggest issues with Life is Strange really feel like they stem from the lack of real impact and change that a lot of the bigger decisions have throughout the course of the game, as well as the various elements of teen drama that the game utilizes throughout the course of its story. However, despite all of this, Life is Strange, in my opinion, is still great in a lot of areas, such as its amazing setting, atmosphere, soundtrack, graphics, and art style. Lastly, due to the fact that Life is Strange is heavily story-driven, I am going to be placing a spoiler warning right at the beginning of this video. Life is Strange plays similar to games like Heavy Rain, The Indigo Prophecy, and Beyond Two Souls. These are all games that, in my personal opinion, are about as much fun to watch as they are to play. I've always felt as though you really don't gain that much more from playing games like these versus just watching playthroughs of them. Now, I don't know about how anybody else might feel about this, but to me, this is a huge problem when you are making a video game. For the game itself to feel like the biggest aspect of the overall experience that you could just skip out on just feels like a huge problem, not only for the player, but for the developer as well. My experience with the Life is Strange series goes something like this. I purchased all 5 episodes of Life is Strange 1, however, I only watched a playthrough of Life is Strange Before the Storm, and while I purchased 1 episode of Life is Strange 2, I ended up just watching playthroughs of the remaining 4 episodes. However, the difference between the gameplay in Life is Strange versus other games that are focused around player interaction with the story is not only that Max has the power to reverse time, but also that a large focus of Life is Strange's gameplay is based around decision making. Now, there are a couple of issues that I have with Life is Strange's gameplay, which I will get into right now. In my personal opinion, Life is Strange's time reversal mechanic feels like both a blessing and a curse at the exact same time. Giving the player the ability to reverse time and previous decisions in a game focused primarily around decision making, to me, at times can feel a bit counterintuitive. Like it sometimes removes some of the impact and suspense of decision making, and I find it so crazy that the game only experiments with the limits of Max's power gameplay wise only once. This is during the rooftop scene with Kate Marsh. Max can reverse time as much as she wants, as many times as she wants, without any real gameplay consequences whatsoever. There are these scenes where you, the player, will have made a potentially large consequential decision only for Max to say something subconsciously like, I don't know if I made the right decision there. Maybe I should reverse time and choose the other option?
No, he does not buy that at all. I may have just flushed my scholarship down the toilet. Yes, I could rewind and actually tell him the truth.
The next issue that I have is that most of the big decisions in this game don't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Life is Strange has these moments where it really tries to emphasize the possible impact of certain decisions. Life is Strange's major decision making, however, never feels like it changes the game in any major ways, only in small, minor ways. Lastly, any and all enjoyment and suspense of making small decisions that might impact the story later feels somewhat watered down due to the "this decision has consequences" pop-up, which, by the way, appears every time you do something that obviously impacts the game in any minor way. And while it does add to the atmosphere of the game, it does at times feel like a complete killjoy, and I don't understand why the developers put this in here in the first place. Life is Strange takes place in the fictional town of Arcadia Bay, Oregon, and puts you in the shoes of Max Caulfield, an 18-year-old girl that has just received a photography scholarship at Blackwell Academy. It is here at Blackwell Academy, after witnessing someone get shot in the bathroom that would later turn out to be her childhood best friend, that she discovers she suddenly has the power to reverse time. Now, the premise of Life is Strange is about as interesting as it sounds. It was enough to keep me fairly interested for the entirety of my first playthrough. However, after all of the suspense and surprise of the first playthrough is gone, Life is Strange feels like it kinda loses some of its original charm. Life is Strange is a story about a girl who discovers she has superpowers, but instead it feels more like a teen drama with tiny elements of mystery sprinkled on top, with Max's time reversal ability feeling more like a mundane object of convenience instead of a real superpower, all the way until about chapter 5. The characters in Life is Strange, in my opinion, aren't exactly what I would call special. One of my biggest issues with Life is Strange really stems from the fact that the characters feel like they could have been handled a bit better. However, a lot of the problems that I personally have with some of the characters really come with the territory of writing a high school-esque story. Its high school-based setting, of course, means that there are obviously a lot of flat characters with barely any depth, whose only purpose is to be a teenager at a high school to fill up space. Max, to me, most of the time feels incredibly lifeless and uninteresting. As a matter of fact, that really seems to be her whole character. Nothing about Max really feels like it is ever explained. For example, Max is apparently attending Blackwell Academy on a photography scholarship, but it's never explained how she got this scholarship in the first place. And as for her love of photography, that's never explained either. Now, that's not to say that I think that Max is an entirely bad character. She has some likable quirks that I find to be pretty relatable. For example, in episode 1, Max is found browsing a site called Camera Porn, which gives specifications and insight as to every single analog camera ever made. And seeing her geek out over various photography gear in Mr. Jefferson's classroom towards the beginning of the game never fails to put a smile on my face.
Damn, they have carbon fiber tripods here. The ball head even has a pan lock. God, I'm such a photo nerd. Oh man, they have those sweet ultrasonic lenses. And look at that vintage rangefinder. What?
Alyssa's only reason for existing is for her to be a comedic relief slapstick running gag that Max has to stop from getting whacked every single chapter.
Alyssa, can you stand over there?
Okay, Max, if that makes you happy.
On it, consider it done.
Wow, now that was close. Thank you, Max.
As for the Kate Marsh subplot, in my opinion, while one of the stronger subplots in the game does feel like it could have been handled a bit better. This is because Max and Kate are supposedly friends who have spent time together at Blackwell Academy prior to the game starting. But this is all told, not shown. It would have been much more effective to have seen Kate Marsh in her usual happy state prior to the Vortex Club party happening. That way it would have hit harder. Rachel Amber, on the other hand, to me, just feels like a Mary Sue character. And she's not really even in the game. Before her death, she got perfect grades. She was very pretty, everyone liked her, was used as a reference model by almost everyone in the school, and if you played or at least watched a playthrough of Life is Strange Before the Storm, she even reveals that she's ambidextrous. As for Victoria, Victoria's purpose feels like it's to serve as a temporary villain and to create petty drama in order to make the game more interesting, more specifically during moments where there really isn't much going on in the story. Victoria is, of course, an absolute sack of garbage. She and the Vortex Club bullied Kate Marsh to the point where she was actually on the roof about to kill herself, and even then, Victoria had the sheer audacity to record it. Then, at the end of the game, Victoria spouts all of this nonsense in a vain attempt at trying to justify her horrible actions. Nathan, as a character, in my opinion, feels like he was handled a bit poorly. This is a game series that I feel is always trying to use story mechanics to raise awareness for modern issues, such as police brutality, racism, bullying, and suicide, and then to turn around and paint a kid with obvious drug problems, mental illness, and family issues as the bad guy for 4 chapters straight just to build up to a shocking plot twist feels like the worst way to handle this type of character. If we open Nathan's locker in episode 3, we can find none other than diazepam, which is used to treat anxiety. Then, to add insult to injury, the game either supposedly kills him off camera or throws him straight in prison. Now, I'm not saying that Nathan Prescott's actions as a character are excused or justifiable. I just feel like the developers were trying to go for something here, and I expected more from a character like him in Life is Strange. Chloe, however, is a character that I have very mixed feelings towards. While, in my opinion, one of the more relatable and stronger characters in terms of her actions, character motives, and flaws, saying this, however, doesn't really feel all that special due to the fact that the game, in a way, kind of revolves around her.
You are such an evil biatch. I love it. You are such an evil biatch. I love it. This song fucking rules. Can't dance, hippie, come on. Rock out, girl. Yes, break it down, Max.
Why is he wearing a beanie at a pool party? One of the biggest complaints and criticisms that Life is Strange probably receives by far has to be that the game can feel very cringy at certain points. And believe me, cringe is a word that I absolutely despise using at times. However, its cringy moments stem from its various attempts at trying to emulate teenage behavior. This is done in the form of both dialogue and character animations. Now, this is not me saying that teen drama automatically makes a story bad. However, the execution of Life is Strange's teen drama feels like, and I don't mean this in a negative, hostile way, but Life is Strange at times can in fact feel like a teen girl drama simulator.
Now that you mention it, he doesn't respond to Victoria's flirting. That means he has good taste.
You have a lot to learn here at Blackwell. Rachel Amber absolutely had sex with him. Well, I heard that from a good source.
She's your friend.
Friends don't sex with their best friend's boyfriend.
Life is Strange's setting and atmosphere are definitely some of the game's strongest features. Life is Strange takes place during the fall, more specifically October, and the game does an amazing job of utilizing these red, orange, and brown colors in order to encapture this feeling of warmth that you would typically associate with fall. This combined with a lot of the set pieces, such as the tornado that hits Arcadia Bay, combined with the design of Arcadia Bay, as well as the effort that went into designing Blackwell Academy, as well as the detail that went into the various student dorm rooms. What I'm trying to say is the set pieces in this game just work, and editing this video felt very easy and natural because of this. While my personal thoughts and opinions towards Life is Strange has definitely changed over the course of time, never would I go to the lengths of saying that Life is Strange is a bad game. Life is Strange's biggest issues in my opinion, however, definitely stem from its characters and the various elements of teen drama that the game utilizes more than anything. In short, Life is Strange is very well made, but also somewhat cringy. As always, thank you so much for watching and definitely consider subscribing for more content in the future.
I just vaped some dank OG buds.